Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Fessha Asgdom. Uh, Cyber Power of Tigray Media. We have scheduled this discussion at 6 p.m. and we are a little bit off of the program about 10 minutes. And sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. I know you are so busy. You have had a very hectic time, Ambassador Fessha, and I do appreciate that you sacrifice your time to join with Cyber Power of Tigray Media. And welcome.
Thank you for having me. It is me who should thank you. Thank you for not only inviting me to share my views on this important medium, but also I wanted to add my compliments as have been done by many to your outlet. It is one of the very few media that cares to a larger audience, not only in Tigrinya and Amharic, but also to a larger extent to the English-speaking audience. Therefore, I think you are doing a fantastic job, and I want to congratulate you on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. To start our program, my first question will be of course, we're going to start in political and military situation, what's going on in Ethiopia and in Tigray. So, what is the current political and military offense situation between Tigray, Ethiopia, and Amhara militia, and also Eritrea, of course? Would you please explain and give us a hint of what's going on currently at this time, at this moment? Thank you so much.
Thank you for such a very important question. Let me start by saying how it looks like on the ground. I frame the most challenging, the most difficult time for the people of Tigray at this particular time is the catastrophic situation of humanitarian issues. The humanitarian situation in Tigray is extremely bad, to say the least. We have, by world standard, what you call class 5 famine situation in Tigray, and close to 500,000 people are at that level. We have over 2 million people that are displaced from their homes and villages that need help. Overall, 90% of the Tigray population needs one kind of another of humanitarian assistance. There is no, as you know, there is no electricity in Tigray. There is no telephone, internet, banking, any kind of commerce. Tigray is at a complete 100% siege by the Abiy government. The sad thing is, there is enough humanitarian aid, food and medical supplies to these victims just few kilometers from Tigray, across the border in Afar. That is a tragedy. So on the humanitarian aspect, this is our most challenging thing right now. In regard to this, our diaspora has been working very hard. Our advocacy, lobbying groups have been very active. I cannot say those that are responsible have not yet heard about this. The European Union, the UN Security Council, including the Secretary General, the big powers, the Americans, almost all that matter are aware. Not only that, they have been pronouncing their positions from time to time. But there is no concrete action that could help alleviate the sufferings in Tigray. And therefore, there is now a lot of discussion again. We hope they discharge their responsibility to save millions from starving to death, while we hope we cannot sit idle. We are determined to break this siege and help the survival of our people. Enough sacrifice has been done. We have enough people dying because of this. And therefore, we do not underestimate the power the international community can do if it comes to its sense, but we have to do what is in our hand. And you ask me what's happening militarily, that is what's happening. We are going to come out of this siege. In terms of political, there isn't much. As far as the Addis and the Amhara government is concerned, they still believe they can annihilate the Tigray people. They can still believe they're going to win this and again destroy what is remaining in Tigray. That is not going to happen. That is where we are in terms of the humanitarian situation and some level of the political situation in our corner of the world.
That's very amazing. That's very motivational news that I'm expecting and what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much. Whatever we have on hand that we are using. Then, since you start and giving us a hope, is there any news or tip you can about military news, especially for my followers, to tell them? I mean, I have heard multiple rumors that Abiy Ahmed is running from Dessie town and from other some small towns, and we have heard some motivational speak from General Zarkan also, and we heard there is a lot of fighting at the front. Is there any way, or you can tell us, if Dessie or other towns are free of the Amhara militia and the Abiy administration at this moment? Thank you so much.
Let me put it in the right context. As you know, after these invading forces, the Amhara militia, the Eritrean invaders, the Abiy army were humiliated in Tigray. They were ejected out of Tigray by and large, even though we still have them in the western part of Tigray, when they were defeated and retreated to Afar and to the Wollo area. They have always declared that they will come back and again conquer Mekelle. Sometimes they put days, weeks that they're going to come back. Now, what has happened of lately is the so-called Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, has been going on a shopping spree for arms, and they've been getting ready to what they call to launch a final and decisive offensive. Even though there were always some skirmish on the ground, they started this what they call full-fledged operation with hundreds of thousands of regular and irregular recruits in the Ethiopian army, with modern weapons, heavy tanks, what have you, with jets and drones. They commenced this offensive on the 11th of October, just 2 days ago. And they're supposed to break through all 4 fronts, 3 in the Amhara region and 1 in the Afar region. We have attacked, we have run a counter-offensive. There have been a lot of damage has been done to the Ethiopian army, to the Amhara militia. Not only they could not push the Tigrayan armies a bit, they have lost a lot of ground. They have been retreating from every confrontation that we have. As to particular towns or cities has been taken, like Jesse and others, I will have to wait until we hear it from the command post. But there is a whole lot of military victory on the ground, that I can assure you. The details which towns are under our control, which are not yet. You have to wait maybe, not a whole lot, maybe a couple of days or a little bit more than that.
Oh. Great. Thank you so much, Ambassador Fessha. This discussion is between Cyber Power of Tigray Media and the Tigray representative government, Mr. Ambassador Fessha Asgdom. Cyber Power of Tigray, again, thank you so much for having you. And my next question will be for being with us. I'm sorry. My next question is there any hope for peace or round table discussion with Abiy Ahmed administration at all? I mean, if there is a hope, how credible it is? Would you trust Abiy Ahmed and his administration? I know he's been lying multiple times. He's already known by his lies, not only him but the whole administrations. But even for one day or stopping war and having a peaceful discussion will save lives. But is there any hope? Is there any plans by Tigray people, Liberation Front, or the government of Tigray to have or to sit around the table with Abiy Ahmed administration at all? Thank you so much.
Now, let me say this about the possibility of peaceful negotiation to settle what is going on now between the Amhara forces and the Addis on one hand, and the Tigray government's army on the other. As you know, any war is a failure of political settlement. We have clearly said, if we can achieve what we wanted to achieve, and that is the safety and security of the Tigray people, for their right to live in peace, for their right to choose their political destiny, for their right not to be threatened, not to be killed, raped, and what have you. If we can assure this without a single loss of life on our part, we are ready to do that. Peaceful negotiation does not let go your principles. If we can achieve this, we are willing to sit down and mediate for mediation. What does that mean? To begin with, the Eritreans have to leave our land without no questions asked. They should leave Tigray. They should also evacuate from all those government offices, including the intelligence, the defense, what have you, from this country. They should. The Amhara militias and the Amhara government has to withdraw its forces from the western Tigray, and status quo ante has to be maintained. What we have before the war has to come back. That is what the Ethiopian constitution guarantees us. That is, you cannot take a land by force and then ask somebody to sit down and talk to you. It is like somebody coming to your house, evicts you from your house, disperses your children, arrests your wife or her husband, and then they say, well, do you want to come back to your house? Let's negotiate. So when we talk about peaceful resolutions, these are some of the things that we wanted to see first. In addition to that, there has to be unfettered access of humanitarian aid to Tigray. All corridors has to be opened, both by land and by air. Our people have to be saved from dying from starvation. As I told you earlier, all services has to be opened in Tigray. And then, be it Abiy Ahmed or anybody else, this is not immunity from the accountability of genocide that was committed in Tigray. If Abiy Ahmed is a member party to this negotiation, that does not give him an immunity from being accountable. But if we are going to sit down and talk, this has to be done first. It almost looks like theory, because Abiy is not willing to do that. Neither is Isaias willing to do that, nor is the Amhara government willing to withdraw from the West. It's almost hypothetical. But as a matter of principle, we are ready to sit down and talk and resolve whatever remains, including establishing a transitional arrangement. Do you trust Abiy? No person in his right mind. I don't think even his deputy or his ministers will trust Abiy. It's not a matter of trusting Abiy. It is a matter of trusting the process. Therefore, we did not trust Mengistu. But when Mengistu Haile Mariam and the Ethiopian Workers' Party said they are willing to negotiate with us on the 11th hour, we said, okay, we will not recognize you as a government, but if we have to stop the war before Addis Ababa changes to a bloodbath, we are willing to do that. And the Ethiopian people will reject you in the political process, and those that are responsible for crimes against humanity will be prosecuted. And that is exactly what we did. Of course, they did not accept the agreement. The government failed, and the Ethiopian Workers' Party was outlawed. Therefore, this is where we are. Right now, we have publicly and officially announced ourselves that we are ready to mediate. On the other hand, Abiy has rejected any possibility of coming to the table. Of course, like all dictators, we will not be surprised if he was going to accept, as it is now rumored in the social media, that he is talking behind the scenes with some leaders, which is not acceptable to us. He has to come up front and show his commitment. We are told by some corners that if he does that, his alliance will collapse. That's not our problem. And if he cannot pronounce himself publicly that he is ready to negotiate with us, we don't accept any rumors as facts. We will continue to break the siege and get our people, extricate our people from the encirclement that they are. So there is all kind of what he call initiatives. The African Union has assigned an envoy. The president of South Sudan, we see in the media, says he has been given a go-ahead by Abiy. It's mind-boggling how a regional organization will disregard the African Union itself when it has assigned an envoy. We believe this is Abiy's game. But for you and your audiences to understand, when the Addis government realizes that it could no more continue the war, it is losing, it is possible, it will call for a negotiation. It may be too late by then. We have to wait and see.
Great. Thank you so much. That's what my understanding is, and everybody's willing and wishing to hear, because it's nothing to trust about Abiy's administration. But it's a good thing you emphasize that even his deputy minister is not going to trust him. That's a good. And my next question will be, with Your Excellency, thank you so much. What do we learn? As you remember, the UN Council meeting was recently done, and what do we learn from the previous UN Council meeting? Are you and your government happy about the meeting? In a sense, do you expect any action against Abiy Ahmed? We were expected, I was expected to have some kind of military intervention or any kind of I had some expectations. But were you expected some, and were your government expected some? At the end of the meeting, they focus on UN workers, as you remember or as you recall. What? Why do they focus on UN workers who were deported from Ethiopia by dictator Abiy instead of the entire humanitarian aid or the SAGE? I know they have to mention too because it's not something that you expect from any government or human people who went to help your own people and then you deport them. But he had his own reasons. But they are expecting an evidence if they were given a warning within 2 weeks for Ambassador Taye. I don't know. Do you expect those evidences or letters to be given for UN Secretary Guterres? Thank you so much.
You ask many questions, even though you make it look like it is one. Let me see if I can address at least some of them.
Okay.
What do we expect? To tell you honestly, we did not expect any collective action from the Security Council. Not any collective action means we did not expect a resolution, a sanction, or any kind of authorization against the Addis government. That is being reality. You ask me why? Because there are at least 2 permanent members in the council and 1 non-permanent member that are defending the Addis Ababa government. You cannot come with an action when you are selling armaments a week before the session. So I have been watching the Security Council for years. I am very realistic about the council. What I was expecting was if they will speak the same language and come with some kind of joint statement, because their own staff has been expelled from Ethiopia. The United Nations has a kind of one protection for all. Everyone is supposed to protect and defend the international civil servants from all over the country that serve every country. And yet, those permanent members still cannot defend their own secretariat. The United Nations Secretariat belongs to all of us, to all countries. That I was a little bit surprised that they did not collectively condemn the action and then ask that they should be restated to where they were. But the same, as far as Ethiopia and Tigray situation is concerned, didn't expect. The second, not an expectation, but when I was watching, when I was anticipating the meeting was, I wanted to see who stands where in terms of the overall situation. And those countries that has been speaking on behalf of the victims continue to speak on a much stronger position. So after the session, I understood the members of the European Union will go to the regional organization and finalize what is now the resolution on Ethiopia. I expect the United States position was so strong that they will continue to work on their sanction based on the president's executive order. Third, but not less important, is the Secretary General has been on the other side of the conflict. I say this on the record because many will listen to your program, English speakers and listeners. He has consistently defended Abiy. The Tigray government has protested this. This time around, they came not only to expel his staff, but they are accusing him that he did not take action when he was aware of it. And in a procedure that is not customary to the Security Council. There is no right of reply in the Security Council, one country against the other. of course, the Secretary General can take the floor to elaborate, to give information. He did tell Taye, you are lying. You never gave me any paper. You cannot produce it. That is what he told him. Therefore, even the Ethiopian ambassador tried to comfort the Secretary General. You have been working for us. You've been supporting us. I am not telling you the diplomatic words. I know what was the message. But he was caught red-handed. If that was true, Taye will have the papers, copy of the note verbal that he sent to the UN under his speech and show it to the Security Council. Here it is. On this day, on this kind of note, I send your office or to your assistant. He has no such paper. He thought he can get away with it. Therefore, if you see what happened at session, the one they consider their ally, just kind of push them away. And also, while he was commenting on the media encounter outside the session, he was even if he looks like he was in fact upset about it. Therefore, in terms of diplomacy, this is not bad. Instead of us writing to the Secretary General telling him this government is known for lying, you are support Prime Minister's own ambassador, just irritated him and showed him what they are all about. Now, they did not have any collective action. We knew a delegation or two have presented a draft joint statement. As usual, the permanent members were not willing to go with it. We didn't get something concrete, collective action, but that does not mean there was no political and diplomacy gain from the session. As I outlined earlier, we saw what countries are saying on their own, and we also saw where the Secretary General and Abiy Ahmed are drifting apart.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I don't think a lot of people notice that how they protect him and sugarcoat him, the ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador Fessha. That's very strong message for the entire world, including the UN Council, and not only for Tigrayans who speaks English or learn or understand this, but the entire Ethiopian, the entire world, and the UN Council also. We need to tweet this to everyone, to all representatives, ambassadors, and countries, so that way your voice is heard. Our Tigray voice, our Tigray people is heard. And thank you so much. And at the one question to ask you about, of course, with Abiy Ahmed spent multiple millions of dollars, about maybe only for the flowers, as per Dr. Galadios last time when I asked him, he said he spent about 60 million birr for flowers to furnish and to make beautiful his ceremony about the new Ethiopian government. What do you think about the new Ethiopian government ceremony and the new cabinet? Do you believe those who got the new minister officials like Brhanu Negga and the others have different ideology than Prosperity Party? And also, is this the reform that Ethiopian people are hoping for? Is it a new thing that they have done? I know it's obvious, your answer, but we just need us to address that. Thank you.
Again, about three parts of your question. All this fanfare with uniform for parliamentarians and members of the City Council, we have seen it all before. Maybe you are too young to remember, but when Mengistu organized this Ethiopian Workers' Party, every member especially the higher echelon was forced and expected to have this blue top or blue uniform, what have you. Simply to identify themselves in Ethiopia, they belong to this special class called the Workers' Party. And therefore, not only they have to show they are superior in material world, what have you, but you just have to see their uniform and then you have to bow or be fearful of them. That's all what it is. And the last country that does this thing these days is North Korea. And therefore, we saw in others with huge amount of budget for people to have the same kind of designer clothing. And the only thing that should be a uniform is in the army. But this is what happens when you have a government and its leader who knows nothing better than to show off on the streets and in meeting halls. Now, and this has history in Ethiopia. Unfortunately, this is not the first time. When we have the infamous famine, that was one of the reasons that the Derg regime came to power. The then Emperor Haile Selassie was about to celebrate his birthday, and also he was getting ready to build a statue for his dog, while millions were starving in Wollo and in Tigray. Later on, the king said, I was not aware, nobody told me, and that is what many Ethiopians say to this day, as if that will make him immune. The Derg came to power, and that was what he showed all over Ethiopia, saying the king was doing this, why people were dying in many parts of the country. The Derg, while celebrating on the establishment of the Workers' Party 10th anniversary, they imported heavy liquors from East Germany. They were spending a lot of money, and Addis was completely redecorated. The street beggars were removed from the street because the whole world from the other camp was going to come to Addis. When the international media made a big deal out of it, the then foreign minister of Ethiopia came to media and says, no. We did not spend money. It was the people who themselves contributed for this. Abiy Ahmed has spent a whole lot of money. I think he will say to the parliament as usual, none of your business. I got this from so and so, and therefore it is my pocket money. Or he will say, the Ethiopians were so generous and so looking forward for his throne that they finances this. And yet, few days after that, now we have a huge war on 4 fronts, and the people of Tigray are condemned to die by starvation, and many parts of Afar and Amhara are denied access to telephone, because every time our forces enter a territory, the first thing Abiy Ahmed does is just cut them off from services. So it will be in the history books, again, like his predecessors, like Haile Selassie and the Derg. Abiy is no exception. He's just playing with his toys with the little time he's got.
Thank you so much. At the end, please use your time to convey any messages that you may have for Tigray diasporas, for Tigray people, TDF or UN Council, whoever you want. Something that I did not mention to ask you, something that you need to address at this time. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Frame. I will use this opportunity to address our own community. I am dealing with the UN Security Council and others on daily basis. There is no need for me to repeat here I also have mentioned many things about the international community. In as far as our diaspora community is concerned, it has been said time and again. I will repeat it here. We have made history, all of us together, with our media, with our intellectuals, with our community at large. No government, no international organization, no human rights organization cannot say they didn't know what is happening in Tigray. The only time they can say was most probably the first 2 or 3 months when Tigray was in the dark. So the first thing that we have to know is we have delivered the message. We have been heard. Every corridor of power knows about Tigray. And this is not because we have millions of dollars for lobbyists or embassies. It is because each and every one of us is working day and night on behalf of our beloved people. We should not undermine this. This became because our iron, strong unity of purpose. We have one and one interest, the well-being of the Tigray people, to get rid of these enemies, to bring some kind of stability to Tigray, to hold those accountable who has committed genocide in the 21st century against our people. What do we need to do now? There is a momentum now. Our forces are advancing forward, countering the offensive that I spoke earlier. We have so far put the Addis Ababa government on the defensive as far as the international community is concerned. I know many of you will say, what concrete action has the international community taken? I know that. I already defined that. That makes us, all of us, to work double. Our cause is at the door. We have to push it so it can be opened. We are there for the long haul. We have a lot of things to do. We are on the winning side. Since we are winners, we are going to need the international community even past this current situation. It will be better for us to tell them, I wish you could have taken concrete action so you can have saved our lives. But now we are here, we have broken the siege, we are going to go forward. Please, at least, don't be on our way. Don't put us on equal terms by your, what we call even-handedness, equivalency. They are both doing this. We are the victims. We are not villains. We are victims. We are defending our people. We are fighting for survival. Therefore, we need to galvanize ourselves. We are almost there, but we are not there yet. Therefore, our diaspora, as far as I'm concerned, that has done what amounts to a miracle diplomatic work. We need to continue, at least to bring it to these powers that they have the responsibility. And our fighters in the front are paying in lives, and this is the least we can do. Once again, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. We all need to work day in and night. We don't need to kind of be complacent by saying our army is fighting and everything will be okay. No, the diplomatic work is getting more complicated, and we are going to be the attention of the international world more than before, because when you are winning, when you are pushing militarily, the world wants us to know how you're going to act, what are you going to do for the remaining of the country. I think I took too long. Thank you so much.
It was a great discussion, and I'm so happy to have you today. It's just an amazing news that you told us. The siege has already been broken. Thank you for Tigray Defense Force. The World Council, the United Nations Council members, please do not be on our way. We are almost there. This is just an amazing discussion that I have with you today. Thank you so much on behalf of Cyber Power of Tigray Media. thank you for being with me, for your precious time, and I do appreciate for explaining what's going on and the current ongoing. It's a breaking news for me to hear this, and thank you so much. And at this time, the Cyber Power of Tigray Media followers, please follow me tomorrow. I will have a discussion in Amharic with Miki Tigray, Miki Raya at 11 a.m. and Bisrat Amare and Miki Tigray, also Miki Kasahon will have another discussion at 7 p.m. In English. And I will let you know if I have another discussion is for me today. Ambassador Fessha, thank you so much, and they have a wonderful night.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Abet 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 belu, abet abet megena. Abet 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 belu, abet abet megena.